Imagine waking up in a hospital bed. White walls. A soft beeping sound. A nurse standing beside you, smiling gently. You look around, and you don't recognize anything. Not the room. Not the flowers on the table. Not even your own hands. Then someone hands you a newspaper. On the front page, there's a photo of your own face, under a headline that says, "One of the world's richest men fights for his life after car crash." You stare at the photo. You stare at your hands again. That man is you. But you don't remember being rich. You don't remember building a company. You don't remember a single birthday, a single friend, a single mistake. You are a billionaire who doesn't know what a billionaire even means anymore. This is the story of a man who had everything and lost the one thing that made it matter, his memory. Stay with me till the end, because what he discovers next will change the way you think about money, success, and what really makes a life worth living. Let's call this man Daniel Hart. Before the accident, Daniel was known around the world. He was the founder of a massive technology company, worth over $11 billion. His face had been on magazine covers. His name had been mentioned in business news, government meetings, and university lectures on success. He owned a private jet, 3 mansions, a yacht he had used maybe 5 times in 10 years, because he was always working. But one rainy night, while returning from a business meeting, his car skidded off a wet road and crashed into a barrier. He survived. His body healed in a few weeks. But his mind did not come back the same way. The doctors called it retrograde amnesia, a condition where a person loses memories from before an injury, while their ability to learn new things often stays normal. Daniel could still speak. He could still do basic math in his head. He could still read and understand the world around him. But when it came to his own life, his childhood, his marriage, his company, his success, everything was blank. Like someone had erased 30 years of memories and left only a stranger sitting in Daniel Hart's body. Now picture the pressure around him. A company worth billions, waiting for its founder to return to work. A wife, standing by his bed, hoping he would remember her face. A son, 15 years old, asking, "Dad, do you know who I am?" And Daniel just stared at them, confused, guilty, and afraid. This is where our story truly begins, not with the money he had, but with the man he had to become all over again. Before we go further, let's understand something important. Memory is not just about remembering facts. Memory is what connects us to who we are. Think about it this way. If you forgot your job, you could learn a new one. If you forgot a phone number, you could look it up again. But if you forgot the people who love you, if you forgot why you built the things you built, if you forgot the mistakes that shaped your character, then in a way, you have to discover yourself again, like meeting a stranger for the first time. This is exactly what happened to Daniel. He looked in the mirror and saw a 52-year-old man with gray hair and tired eyes. But inside, he felt like someone brand new, with no memories, no habits, no opinions yet formed. The doctors advised his family to be patient. Some memories might slowly return through familiar smells, sounds, or places. Others might never come back at all. His wife, Elena, tried showing him old photo albums, wedding pictures, vacations, birthdays. Daniel would look at the photos and feel nothing, like flipping through a stranger's family album. His business partners tried talking to him about the company. Numbers, contracts, meetings, strategies. Daniel understood the words. But none of it felt like his life. It felt like reading a textbook about someone else's career. And here is the strange part. While Daniel had forgotten his success, he had also forgotten his stress. He had forgotten his fear of failing. He had forgotten the constant pressure of being the billionaire everyone was watching. For the first time in decades, his mind was quiet. And in that quiet, something unexpected began to happen. The man without a title. A few weeks after leaving the hospital, Daniel was taken back to his enormous mansion. Marble floors. A private art collection. A garage full of cars he didn't recognize. Instead of feeling excited, Daniel felt uncomfortable, almost embarrassed. He asked his assistant a simple question. "Do I actually need all of this?" The assistant laughed nervously, thinking it was a joke. But Daniel wasn't joking. He genuinely didn't understand why one man needed 7 bedrooms when he was sleeping in only one of them. He began wandering through his own house like a visitor. He found a room filled with trophies and awards. Businessman of the Year, Top Innovator, Self-Made Success Icon. He picked up one of the trophies, turned it over in his hands, and felt absolutely nothing. No pride. No memory of the achievement. Just cold metal and his own name engraved on it. That night, he asked his wife a question that surprised her. "Elena, was I happy? Before the accident, I mean. Was I actually happy?" Elena paused for a long time before answering honestly. "You were proud. You were respected. But happy? I'm not so sure anymore." Learning to see the world again. Since Daniel couldn't run the company in his current state, the board of directors appointed a temporary CEO to manage things. This gave Daniel something he hadn't had in over 20 years, free time. At first, he didn't know what to do with it. He started taking walks in the small park near his home. Not the private garden behind his mansion, the public park, where ordinary people jogged, walked their dogs, and sat on benches. Nobody recognized him at first. Without his usual expensive suits, without his confident business posture, he just looked like an ordinary tired man in a jacket. One afternoon, an elderly street vendor selling roasted corn offered him a warm smile and a snack. Daniel, having no memory of ever refusing such things, simply said yes. He sat on a bench, eating roasted corn, watching children play. And for the first time since the accident, he felt something close to peace. He began talking to strangers. A retired teacher told him about her 40 years in a classroom, and how she still remembered the names of students from decades ago. A young father told him about the joy of teaching his daughter how to ride a bicycle. None of these people were rich. None of them had companies worth billions. But when Daniel asked them, "Are you happy?" most of them said yes, without hesitation. He couldn't stop thinking about that difference. Reconnecting with his son. The hardest relationship to rebuild was with his son, Max. Max was 15, old enough to remember every missed birthday, every school event his father couldn't attend because of an important meeting, every promise that got pushed aside for work. At first, Max kept his distance from Daniel, still hurt from years of feeling second to a company. But strangely, the new Daniel, the one without memories, didn't act like the old, always busy father. He had nowhere urgent to be. No emails demanding his attention. No meetings to rush to. One weekend, Daniel found an old skateboard in the garage. He didn't know it had belonged to Max years ago. He asked, "Can you teach me how to use this?" Max looked at him, confused. "You used to buy me expensive gifts. Not really spend time with me." Daniel simply said, "I don't remember doing that. But I'd like to do this if that's okay." For the first time in years, Max smiled at his father, a real smile, not a polite one. They spent the whole afternoon in the driveway, Daniel falling off the skateboard again and again, both of them laughing until it got dark. That evening Max wrote in his journal, "I think I like this version of Dad better." The truth about his old life. As weeks passed, small memory fragments started coming back to Daniel, not everything, but pieces. He remembered the exhaustion of 18-hour workdays. He remembered skipping his own son's birthday party because of a shareholder meeting. He remembered feeling proud when his company's stock price rose, and feeling almost nothing when his father passed away, because he was too busy to properly grieve. These weren't happy memories. They were warnings. He realized that the old Daniel had built an empire, but slowly lost the people and moments that made an empire worth having. He also remembered something his own father had told him years ago, before he became successful. "Son, don't build a life so big that you forget to live in it." At the time, young Daniel had ignored that advice completely. Now, sitting quietly with his memories slowly returning, those words hit differently. The decision. Eventually, doctors confirmed that Daniel had recovered enough to resume most of his responsibilities. The board was thrilled. Investors were relieved. News channels prepared headlines about the billionaire's miracle comeback. Everyone expected Daniel to return exactly as before, sharp, driven, obsessed with growth. Instead, Daniel called a private meeting with his board of directors. He didn't ask for more profits. He didn't announce a new product. He announced something nobody expected, a restructuring of his own life. He would step back from daily operations and hire a permanent CEO. He would keep a smaller, meaningful role in the company, mentoring young entrepreneurs instead of chasing every deal himself. A large portion of his fortune would go toward education programs and mental health support for overworked employees, something he now deeply understood the importance of. And every single evening, without exception, he would be home for dinner with his family. Some board members were confused. A few were even upset, worried about the company's aggressive growth slowing down. But Daniel simply said, "I already lost my memory once. I'm not willing to lose the reason for having one." Months later, Daniel sat in that same small park, eating roasted corn again, watching Max ride his skateboard nearby. He still didn't have all his old memories back. Some were gone forever. But he had gained something arguably more valuable, a completely fresh understanding of what actually mattered. He often told people, half joking, half serious, "Losing my memory was the most painful thing that ever happened to me, and somehow, also the best thing that ever happened to me." Because before the accident, Daniel had measured his life in numbers: company valuation, net worth, stock prices, awards on a shelf. After the accident, he measured his life in moments: a skateboard afternoon with his son, an honest conversation with his wife, a warm bag of roasted corn on a quiet bench. He didn't lose his fortune. He kept his billions. But he changed how he lived with them. And maybe that's the real lesson hidden inside this story. We don't need to lose our memory to lose sight of what matters. Many of us are already forgetting, not through an accident, but through busyness. Through chasing more money, more success, more approval, while the people who truly love us quietly wait for our attention. Daniel had to lose everything in his mind just to remember what was truly important. Hopefully, we don't need an accident to learn the same lesson. So let's quickly bring it all together. This is the story of Daniel Hart, a billionaire who lost his memory in an accident, and in doing so, was forced to rebuild his entire identity from nothing. Along the way, he discovered that titles, trophies, and fortunes meant very little without the people and moments that made life feel worth living. He learned that success without connection is empty, and that sometimes, it takes losing everything in your mind to finally see what truly matters in your heart. Here's a simple thought to carry with you today. You don't have to lose your memories to start living like they matter. Choose your people. Choose your moments. Choose them now, not after some accident forces you to. If this story touched you in any way, make sure to like this video. And if you enjoyed this kind of real, meaningful storytelling, subscribe for more videos like this. We share powerful life stories every week. Stories about people who lost everything and found something greater along the way. Thank you for watching till the end. I'll see you in the next story.